Hello everyone. I'm going to be going over how to install an Ironman stubby winch bumper for a 2014 through 2024 4Runner. Just going to give you a pretty good look at it. Yeah, looks good. In this video, I'm going to be going over just the bumper install. So I'll be putting my winch in and I'll be walking you through the steps, the little nuances of putting together this bumper that the original Ironman bumper video didn't really cover. If you want to see winch wiring, light bar wiring, I'll have separate videos for those. All right, so now we're going to begin assembling our winch. Take everything out, make sure you have everything. I'm not going to go into crazy detail because Ironman has a video out explaining the entire process. So I'm kind of just going to brush over everything. But yeah, first step, you just want to make sure you have all the parts, brackets, all of that. Obviously your winch, and this is the cover, like the front part. The winch I'll be putting on my car is an X-Bull 10,000 pound winch. If you're interested in looking at this winch more, it'll be in a link in the description. I'll be putting it on my Ironman stubby winch bumper. All right, the next step of our bumper install is to mount our light bar. So the light bar I ordered off of Amazon was like $50 something. Fits in the crack very pretty well, but the only problem is that the brackets do not line up. So I'm gonna just drill new holes and then mount it that way. I'll be using cobalt drill bits, but pretty sure any metal drill bit will work. All I'm gonna do is line up the brackets, line up the light bar exactly where I want it, position the brackets, and then I'll just mark it with a paint pen and drill the holes. All right, I've got the front bumper piece flipped upside down, and I've got my points marked out. All I gotta do is just drill the hole and I'll be good. And I'll be using cutting oil. Make sure you have some sort of oil. Penetrating fluid's okay too, but just make sure it doesn't get too hot. All right, I got the holes drilled in here. It lines up well, and all I did was just spray paint the bare metal with some spray paint, just to prevent rusting. Next, we're gonna put the fairlead on. Just whatever came with your winch. Slap that thing on there. The X-Bull winch came with this hardware, so I'm gonna go ahead and slap that on. All right, got our light bar in, looking fantastic. I'll show you the other side. Here's what the other side's looking like. Boom. Yep. Got our plug. We're all good. Okay, so yesterday I had a very wonderful discovery. These bolts that come with the X-Bull winch are too short to fit on my winch bumper. So I had to go back out and get some longer bolts, and I believe these will do. Yeah, just keep that in mind if your mounting plate is very thick. If it's very thick, you might want to get longer bolts. All right, y'all. So I had to put the bumper on its nose, so the front of the winch is facing down. Got my water bottle holding it up. But next I'll just put in the recovery points on. That is the bolt you need. And we need 4 And the video says to hand tighten these. Oh boy. Ironman's tutorial video says to hand tighten these and get them attached just like that. All right, so I've got my winch, or the plate back up, face up. I've already got the front bumper face on. I just hand tighten these top bolts, these two top bolts down. That's a good stopping point. The next thing I'm doing is taking the exact same bolts. They're 18mm bolts. Same exact thing that we did with our recovery points. And we're putting 3 on each side, connecting the mounting plate to the front plate. And yeah, so I'm gonna do that. A little progress in the video. He was saying to push the front bumper piece toward that piece as much as possible, so it's as flush with the bumper as possible. You'll see little holes there. And you're able to use an 18 ratchet, a short ratchet on these two, but you'll have to use an 18 wrench on this middle one right here. You can't reach it with the ratchet. But with these, you're gonna want to tighten them fully before you put it on the car, because it's a really tight space and you can't really get to it when you put it on the car. At this point, our winch bumper should be fully complete. And now all we need to do is remove our bumper and cut out where the bumper is gonna go. Now, I have a valence panel, so I'm going to remove my bumper. You can cut the bumper while it's on the car, but since I have a valence panel and I want to save it, I'm going to cut it when it's off the car so I can remove it. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show y'all how I'm making the cuts. Now that we've got the bumper off, now is a good time to go ahead and take off our crash bar. Won't be needing that anymore since the bumper will be replacing that. All right, impactor bar officially off. Yeah, now it's time to just cut the bumper, and then we'll put the bumper back on and mount the winch bumper. Hope that made sense. All right, y'all, so I'm cutting the bumper off the car, but pretty much the cut I'm going to do is there's a little valley here. I'm gonna cut up, there's a valley in between these two peaks, and I'm going to cut in this innermost valley, so right along this edge, leaving this little lip here. So you literally just cut up along this, you stop here, go up like that, and then I taped off this line. It is 1 3/4 of an inch down from this grill. I literally just following the Ironman tutorial. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I'm going to leave extra room here and then fine tune it. Once I get most of it cut, I'm going to fine tune it to make it look exactly like what they had in the video. So just to give you an idea, this is kind of what I'm doing. I'm making cuts, putting it up to the bumper, seeing what I need to trim, going back, making more cuts, just to make sure I get the cut close to perfect. All right, got it all mocked up. Everything's looking perfect. This is a little too wide, but I think the trim included in the bumper kit will fill that gap in. Here, let me show you the back. Here. You can't really see it, hold on. All right, there you see the back. You cut it at an angle so it avoids this top bolt, But you see that plastic's tucked in there. And there's something I did that helped. I drew up the center of the winch bumper, and I drew a center line on the tape in the middle of my bumper and lined them up. So I kind of adjusted the bumper according to that, and that turned out very well. All right, y'all, it's on the car. I definitely recommend having a jack and multiple people to help you, because it is very heavy. But we got it up there, looks good. I'm just putting back in our old hardware, and yeah. I'm gonna give you a close-up of how this winch looks in here. What I ended up doing was putting the winch bumper on first before the bumper cover, just because I didn't know if my control box being mounted on top would interfere with this line. And as you can see, it's just barely clearing it. I think if I put a little pad in between the control box and this line, it would be good. Yeah, and I also had things to tighten and loosen on the winch that I didn't want to, that I wanted to save for the car. What I'm doing here, putting blue thread locker on these outside 3 bolts. Once I got this inside bolt initially in, and we're using this plate as a washer for these 3 bolts. I've already got this one on, so I'm gonna go do the other side. I didn't know this, but apparently there's washers for these inside bolts too. So you have this plate and then washers that they included for these inside bolts. Okay. So these bolts, I'm gonna go ahead and torque them down. They're 85 foot-pounds of torque for all of these 14mm bolts. All right, getting our deep 17 socket now. Now that you've gotten these bolts torqued to 85 foot-pounds of torque with all the washers on them, we're gonna work on this recovery point. So we need to get this 17, crack this loose, just loose. Oh wait, hold on. Just loose, so we can push it up and access these bolts. Okay, so now you want to grab this long bolt. You're gonna have a split washer and this type of washer on the long bolt, and push this up. This is gonna go through the radiator core support. Like, I can't really do it with one hand. Maybe I can. And we'll be able to see the other end. So then you want to grab your lollipop nut and screw it in like that. Next, grab the machine thread bolt, so the one with the smaller threads, your split washer, and a larger washer for that. And that goes and screws directly into your radiator support. This is stuff they do not tell you in the video. My mounting point has a gap between it because these aren't perfect holes. They're elongated. So it's pushed this way, leaving a gap. So I need to loosen everything and then push it this way to line these 2 panels up. I'm a big torque pound, or I'm a big torque spec guy, and a big pet peeve of mine is that Ironman doesn't include any torque specs in their video, so I don't really know what to torque these to. So I just went with a good 45. I may have gotten these 3 a little tighter, but since this top one's on this lollipop type nut, I didn't want to like break this rod, and so it's a little bent, but that's at 45 too. That's at 45. Yeah, and then with this one, they mentioned in their video you have to pull down on it, give it some top pressure in order for it to go back on. So I'm gonna do that. All right, this side's done. This side took me a lot longer, specifically this bolt, because this wouldn't come up, and for some reason this lollipop nut wouldn't catch the thread, and so I had to like wedge a rock in between these two to push this one further to get it to lock on to that lollipop nut. But now you want to take that last bolt and we're gonna button this up. So then you want to grab another washer for the other end, then split washer, and then one of the nuts. Okay, now we put on the bumper. Now I'm gonna give you a view, so watch closely, but this, I've already put on each piece. This is the passenger side. All you need to know is that this is the curved piece. This one's easy to mess up. Just make sure that this part is the curved. And then this one's easy to do. Just get that on the driver's side. Now I've got this rubber trim. I'm gonna put it around the edges because the gaps I cut are just slightly, there's a slight gap, and so this will fill it. All right, all I've done, I've buttoned up the fenders. Yeah, it looks good. All right, if you have gaps here, these metal brackets make it really easy. You can literally just push your bumper into this to close the gap and then tighten these bolts. They gave it wiggle room, so you had the ability to adjust how this bracket went and adjust your bumper fitting to the winch bumper. So I'm just gonna fine tune it and then tighten them up, and then we're pretty much done. I also put this bottom skid plate on. It was just these Allen bits with the lock washers, and then I used my skid plate bolts to just bolt the rest on, but it integrates pretty much perfectly. All right, we're finished. We got it all buttoned up. Looks beautiful. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you found value out of this, like and subscribe. I always appreciate it. Any relevant links will all be in the description. And I will have another video doing all of the winch and light bar wiring. So keep an eye out for that.